We're gonna have to do it like this because listen, I done tried to record this video several times. This subject pisses me clean straight off till I swear to God. Hi, I'm April. I'm creating an art series, working title Black Social Spaces. But listen, in an artist journey, there's lots of steps, and part of that steps for the body of work is research. And so why am I researching? Because it's important to know what you're trying to say to your audience through your art, so forth and carry on. And why do Black people have these social spaces? And it's all based on the history of the Black experience, at least the ones I'm talking about here in America. So I will be diving into America's history, starting with slavery. Why does it all go back to slavery? And this is not an official study. Do not try to learn from me. This is April's recount. This is April's slavery course. Okay. No school will be testing you on what I say. I promise. I promise. Before the transatlantic slave trade, there was always slavery. There was way before we started writing things down. There were serfs. There were indentured servants. You know what? Side note to that. Whoever decided that, oh, I like to trade goods. You know what good I didn't get to trade today? Another person. We should really start trading people. Why can't I own a person? Whoever that person is, your dick is small and your mama's a hoe. I digress. It seems like during the transatlantic slave trade, multiple countries were involved. I think 7 different countries were involved. They were all trying to figure out how to get African slaves, but I think Portugal was the first country to really get into it. But before then, it was really hard for these European countries to make slaves out of Africans because first of all, they hadn't even mapped out the entirety of the continent, and there was also the Sahara Desert, and it was really expensive to try to ship and trade through there, and because nobody could survive. They kept trying to make it happen, and I guess by the time they made it happen, they really wanted to make it fucking count. But yeah, there were slaves before then, and I've been trying to make this video all day, and I swear it gets me really hyped up because the thought process and the hoop jumping to justify everything that happens during slavery is wild to me. You bending your back to make this make sense. Well, one of the weird rules that I've noticed popped up during slavery is you can enslave someone as long as they're not the same religion as you. You're a Christian and they're not a Christian, you can have them enslaved. But if those are Christians, you can't enslave them. So it was fine. We're gonna the whole continent. We want it as much as possible. But obviously it's the western part of Africa is really where the slave trade hit. And actually, everyone, I'm putting a picture in of my ancestry.com. My ancestry profile show you exactly where I am genetically from. And basically, we are going to talk about, okay, let's explain to people why. Because after you make all these excuses to do it, what was the real reason why you needed all these slaves? To start out with, it was sugar. Sugar. So nothing important, nothing life-saving, nothing. Then on top of that was tobacco. A little bit of coffee, depending on where you were going in the America. Further down the line, cotton, especially in southern region of America. Cotton. None of that sounds important to me. Everything right now is made out of polyester anyway. Don't piss me off. The transatlantic slave trade goes from the late 15th century to the late 19th century, and so it spans over 400 years. Y'all didn't gain a conscience over 400 years. And in my mind, certain things are taught socially. So generation after generation after generation, you're teaching people that, oh, these enslaved folks are not human or less than human. They're cattle. They're hoarding. They're with the equality of cows. They're nothing. They are not capable of being like us. You taught them this generation after generation after generation. 400 years. Okay. And during that time, just on traveling from Africa to, then the country, 48% went to Caribbean, 41% went to Brazil, and about 5% went to the Americas. And over the travel of being on that ship, people jumped, suicides, they were beaten to death, they were starved, there was disease. They said 1.5 to 2 million people died at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean during the slave trade. The conditions on the ships were horrible. I just want to explain to you just the ugliness, whatever you're thinking that probably happened during slavery happened, and worse. The ship conditions were, ooh, there's a special place in hell for y'all. Ooh, they were fighting diseases like yellow fever, smallpox. Why am my camera dying? Okay. They were fighting diseases like smallpox, malaria, dysentery, yellow fever, all that on these ships. It was horrible. So if you did not die in Africa when they were literally kidnapping and snatching you, if you didn't die during the travel, and then if you didn't die from the diseases when you got there, and you actually did some years as a slave, let me tell you, they put systems in place to make sure you died in your 30s. They realized that, oh, well, we get the most work out of them during like their first 10 years of adulthood. Therefore, everything after that, they work slower. We get less, bang for our buck. So we're going to work the dog crap out of them harder and harder so they die in their 30s. What? Oh, they're going to force you to breed so there's more to replace you with. We're going to keep buying more and more. Child, you were born a slave. You were branded as a slave. You gave birth or bred more slaves, and then you died a slave. That was your entire life. I think in Antigua it was the sugar canes. It was definitely the sugar canes in Antigua. And I think it was a southern state. Was it North Carolina or South Carolina? Was it? That's on my ancestry.com. I think that's where the cotton fields were. And oh my gosh. Since there's not a lot of records of the enslaved, like there's not a lot of, oh, that's their name and that's their name. There's not a lot of records, so I can't exactly explain to you how my bloodline leads me to that state. But the first person I can connect to my family tree was like in Maryland. Like there's no information. I can only guess either runaway slaves. There's a lot of things that pushed you north. Great migration. It could be. Listen, I don't know. I will say New Jersey is my current state, and New Jersey was the last state of the northern states to be like, yeah, slavery's bad. You took your time. And I will say I lived in Maryland a good chunk of my my childhood and teenagehood, and I did college at UMES, HBCU, go Hawks. The amount of people with Confederate flags saying the South should have won, aren't you embarrassed? Do you understand that if the South won, that means we still have slaves? Are you not thinking this through? Why are you running around with this Confederate flag in my face? I'm on an HBCU property. What is happening? Like it was wild. Aren't you embarrassed? I had to get out of there. They pissed me clean straight off. And then there was the wars during the slavery time. Because how did we fight the American Revolution for freedom, but everybody's gonna be free except the enslaved? So it's just white people freedom we care about. Okay. And then the Civil War, you want us to fight again? And you're not sure if we're gonna be free at the end of it? Don't piss me off. The history of slavery in America just pisses me off every step. And these are just the highlights I can remember. Don't piss me off. Then Great Britain abolished slavery because Great Britain was totally running the slave trade from Antigua. I know there was the American Revolution that cut ties during the Americas, but my dad's side of the family, Great Britain, they were still controlling Antigua. They abolished slavery in 1833, and America abolished slavery in 63. But remember, our slaves didn't find out until like 1965. So, and then the final place was Brazil in 1888. So 1883, 1863, 1865, 1888. And don't even get me started about how not okay everything was right after slavery. But that's going to be a different situation. This pissed me clean off. I can't. And then I had the nerve to see, because they passed a law that said if you were born a slave and one of your parents if you were born during that time, and one of your parents was a slave, you were automatically a slave. Why did they make that a law? Oh, because the slave owners were having sex with the slaves, raping the slaves, and therefore the children would be owned by their dad. You know what really takes me off is that I can look at my ancestry.com and see what 1% Irish/Scottish. So I can see the evidence of this in my genealogy. You know what? And I'm glad it's over. I'm glad everything's over. I'm glad this video. I just had to reaffirm everything I already knew so I can start moving to the next stage, which is going to be like working through segregation and how that really affects the black social spaces. But every time I have to go back and look at slavery, piss me clean. Because and people will be talking about like, oh, why didn't they fight back? Don't piss me off. Have you heard of Amistad? When I tell you I was a teenager when I watched that movie, had me messed up. Anyway, bye.